Excuse me. I don't think there's anything wrong with the action on this piano. Well, I heard about the fella you've been dancing with all over the neighborhood. So why didn't you ask me, baby? Or didn't you think I could? Well, I know that the boogaloo is out of sight, but the shing-a-ling's a thing tonight. But if that was you and me out there, baby, I would have shown you how to do it right. Do it right. Uh-huh. Do it right. Do it right. Do it right. Ah, twist it. Shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, baby. Now we go loop-de-loop. Shake it out, baby. Here we go loop-de-lop. Bend over, let me see you shake your tail feather. Bend over, let me see you shake your tail feather. Come on, let me see you shake your tail feather. Come on, let me see you shake your tail feather. Come on. Come on, baby. Come on. Yeah, come on, baby. All right. Do the twist. Do the fly. Oh, do the swim. And do the bird.
Hey, hey.
Hello there.
How you going? We're back in the band room, guys.
We are. And we've got our special guest this week. We've promised everyone. Simon Owens is back.
Good to see you guys.
Oh, my God.
Good to
Bring
be
him
back in the
straight in.
band room. I was going to bring my 3 Blues Brothers posters to put
You
up on the
should've.
wall.
Oh, you've got Blues Brothers posters?
He's a
3 of them
fanatic.
from when I was a kid.
Oh, is that right?
When I first got my job delivering paper rounds, I went down to Kmart in Chirnside Park, which is outer suburb of Melbourne, out to the east. And in Kmart, they used to have those racks where you'd flick through the big posters in that rack, and then they'd be numbered, and then they'd be rolled up underneath the
right.
posters, and you could buy them. And there were, in my memory, were 3 posters that were Blues Brothers ones. So I had to make sure I got them all, and I've still got them to this day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, love them.
Fantastic.
Your house must be just full of memorabilia.
Full of shit.
Full of shit?
Yeah.
Mine is a little bit too.
Yeah. No,
I've got a
love
lot
it.
of posters. We're the 80s Montage. I'm Sammy.
And I'm Jay Jovi.
And this is Simon, our
Yeah.
special guest.
Good
This
to be here.
week, very excited to do this. We've wanted to do this for a while. We were talking to about it to Simon a little while ago. Realised he was such a fanatic about the film. We're going to talk about the film Blues Brothers, because at first they were a band.
Yes.
And then sort of this culminated in 1980, the release of the film. Really exciting film, directed by John Landis, starring Dan Aykroyd and James. I always go to say James Belushi, but it's John Belushi.
Yeah, James was the brother.
Yeah. And a lot of fun, sort of drawing in a lot of cameos and some fantastic music. So we're going to have a look at this.
Now, let me ask, Jay, how many times have you seen the Blues Brothers?
You know, only twice.
Twice?
Yeah, only twice. And I'm a repeater. Like I if I really love something, I need to sort of look at all the tiny little parts of it. You know what I mean? Every breath, every movement.
Yeah.
You know?
Study it.
I saw it when I was a kid. I guess around the time that sort of Animal House and Blues Brothers and a lot of that sort of material was coming through, and a lot of it was going over my head.
Yep.
But I did love the comedy element. Like I did love the sort of watching those old SNL actors come and do their thing. And it wasn't until sort of researching for this that I thought, I've watched sort of scenes over the years, but it's a long film. It's like 2 minutes 15, or 2 hours 15.
Yeah.
So to go back and watch it again, I never actually did it until sort of we were researching again.
Right.
And I was reminded of the directing style and pace of John Landis, because he is very paced.
He's very paced. That was the first thing I noticed.
Yeah. Well, it's like a 70s film. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like John Landis, he would have been inspired by all those sort of 60s and 70s directors. They had all the time in the world. Audiences had a different attention span. You just take your time. And you really noticed in feature films around this period how much space there was, and which I thought was amazing because Dan Aykroyd wrote the script something like 6 months and turned up with this massive sort of 300-page script.
And for context, the average movie script is like 120 to 150 pages.
Yeah, exactly.
So
right.
he had this thing that was twice as long.
It was going to be like a
and
two-part.
fully detailed.
Yeah. So you got to, you know, think of John Landis and you think of sort of films that he's done, more sort of American Werewolf, not so much Twilight Zone, but like a lot of films that he's done, they're not heavy on script. There's lots of action and lots of space. Even thriller, there is a lot of space in that.
Oh, big time.
Yeah. So you really get a sense of his rhythm. And I was really reminded of it, sort of watching it again, like, fuck yeah, it's like that sort of like a legacy film, like a 70s legacy film, just so happened to be released in 1980.
Yeah. Sammy, so Jay's seen it twice. How many times have you seen it?
I thought I'd seen it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But then I sat up and watched it last night, and what Jay's talking about with the pace of it drove me nuts.
Really?
I was like, can you just get to the point? Yeah. Maddie had showed me scenes on the Sunday just to have a look at, and then I watched it from the start where he gets out of the prison.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. Now, I, for some reason, thought Spinal Tap came out before this, but it didn't. It came out in 1985, Spinal Tap.
Okay.
85?
Yeah. So I'm excited about that because there will be a Spinal Tap episode on the 80s.
Oh, yeah,
Montage.
for sure. Gotcha.
100%, because
Surprised
that's
we
more
haven't
my
done one.
thing, right?
I've never seen it.
Oh,
Is that right?
my
Never seen
God.
Spinal
Well,
Tap.
you've got to
Go.
come back because it is just insane. I think Spinal Tap took a bit of stuff from the Blues Brothers, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And you know when I used to have venue owners say to me, we're going to put the chicken wire up and blah, 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 and especially in Darwin. Darwin's very heavy. So they'll go, we've get the chicken wire up, and they laugh at you and stuff. And I'm like, what's that even mean? But that's where it comes from, the Blues Brothers movie.
Yeah.
The fact that if someone throws a bottle at you, you won't.
You're going to be safe.
That's
Yeah,
right.
it'll shatter.
And
instead.
that stuff can happen being in a band if you're somewhere remote. I thought that was the funniest part of the movie. I did fall asleep though when they did their big concert.
Oh, at the Palace Hotel ballroom.
Yep.
Yeah.
Totally fell asleep. I enjoyed it. But
Well, it is. That's toward the end, so it is a long movie. So
yeah, I must have just been tired. But
Yeah.
we had a bit of a Blues Brothers weekend this weekend, and we haven't told you about this, but we did the Capitol Theatre in Bendigo, and all I could think about was our weekend watching this.
yeah.
So we go and do a set at the Capitol Bendigo Theatre, and the fire alarm goes off after we finish the first set. We have to evacuate everyone.
Yeah.
So it's this incredible old theatre where you've
Yeah.
got like green room and everything on the bottom, on the ground floor.
Yeah.
Then you've got sort of all your dressing rooms and everything second floor, and then you've got the stage and everything up the top. And you always forget. Like, oh, fuck, you
Which
run
level?
right downstairs and then
Yeah.
you're like, oh, fuck, hang on, I'm on the
Yeah.
first
Wrong floor.
You know, like all of this kind of thing. And we sort of went down to the dressing rooms because there's a little bit of resetting to do between sets. And this fucking fire alarm just starts rising up.
Yeah.
We had a big day anyway.
We
and
had a
were
huge
just,
day.
We were just like, what? Are you fucking kidding? Like,
Yeah.
surely this is just a joke. Kept going. We all get ushered out.
Please evacuate.
Yeah.
Please evacuate.
Yeah. And
Was there a fire?
Nah.
no.
False alarm.
No.
Someone putting hairspray on under a fire alarm.
We don't know.
That's
If
what
only
does
it was that. If only it was
Wish.
that. We've got a couple of different theories.
We've got a couple of different theories. It's a brand new system, and I think it's really sensitive.
Okay, yeah.
Because when they told me that, I went, why would you get something so sensitive? Obviously, it didn't like me saying that because it just showed us how sensitive it was that night.
Yep.
we had haze going through the room, and they think that when they isolated different parts of the theatre, but they didn't isolate the foyer, so it ran into the foyer.
Okay,
and then may have set off the alarms.
Yeah.
But I didn't think haze could set off the alarms, but apparently it does because you can either use them or you can't.
Well, anything that's thick enough, because steam can set off a fire alarm, smoke alarm.
Yeah.
I found that when I was cleaning our shower. This is fascinating for people to hear about my cleaning habits. Cleaning my shower at home one day, the shower screen, and getting the soap scum off, I thought I'm just going to use straight hot water from the shower head on, and it really steamed up the bathroom, and then it went out into the hallway and set off the fire alarm.
Oh my God, because of the warmth.
Because it was so thick.
Yeah.
Because I'd really it was like a steam room in a sauna, in a gym or something.
So we have to go outside and do our little paces and stay where we need to stay. The whole audience, which was 300 deep, have to stay outside of the theatre.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking,
in the cold.
Would have been close to 45 minutes. It was fucking freezing.
45 minutes.
45 minutes.
Oh, what a mood killer.
Yeah.
We thought that. 2 fireys, 2 trucks, and the girls are like, can I get a whoop? Can I get a whoop, whoop? And the fireys are going nuts for these chicks. And then everyone came back in. Everyone was patient enough to come back in because I wasn't not going to finish the show.
Yeah.
As soon as I knew, we were like on, The problem was we were freezing, so everything vocally just shuts down for me.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because my body's like, it's time for bed. We don't need to do this
And you can really
anymore.
hurt yourself.
You can.
Like if you're going from that kind of rested state after you've sort of done a sprint and then you go to do another sprint, you can really hurt yourself.
And vocally you've cooled down and your body as soon as it's really hard to sing at the snow because your body temperature, your voice won't work.
Wow.
It needs to be warmed up, And I thought, here we go. And I remember saying to the boys, come on, we're going back on. And the first song was Burn For You in Excess.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we were laughing.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, that's very
Smoke alarm,
funny.
Burn For You.
So I'm thinking we've just got, like we were talking about to you just before, we've just got to take the mickey out of this and make it a joke.
Yeah.
And we did that. And just before we were going on, I said to the boys, I think they're going to go nuts when you walk back on the stage. And they went mental.
We
good.
thought they'd be over it.
Yeah.
And we were into the second set by 2 songs. And this, we said something like, Rewind 80s. This guy goes, and you're fucking awesome.
Yeah.
We were just
Loved
like,
it.
oh my God.
Well, I suppose you've all been through something together.
Yeah,
so
That's
I
right.
immediately thought mood killer, but if they
Yeah.
all stuck
No.
around,
Yeah.
they're
They all
hanging
stuck
out
around.
and
Yeah.
everyone's feeling
They
the
did.
same,
Yeah.
so that creates a camaraderie.
So
Yeah,
Bendigo,
yeah.
thank you so much.
Yeah, good
Everyone
on
that
you
came to
guys.
Bendigo, incredible. The thing that I came out and I said, I was going to start with Fire by the Pointer Sisters, which was written by Bruce Springsteen, or We Didn't Start the Fire. And then I said, next year we're going to have 2 alarms. And they thought that was hilarious. And we just didn't take it so hard.
Yeah.
Because any other band in that situation may have just, I know the band I used to be in not that long ago would have gone home,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know what they're like. It would have been like, nah, your fault,
Yeah.
You can't do that to an audience. You're either going to give to an audience or be a narcissist and go home, right? I wanted that group of people to have a night. I wanted my boys to be okay. And there's a certain amount of security you have that I've got to have as a leader, but we've all got leadership qualities.
Yeah.
But if that had been band I was with a couple of months ago, would have been an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that's all I could think of. It feels like I'm in that band again. I don't know how to react. It was triggering me, right? Because that happens every week with them. But it's their fault. This wasn't our fault, right? They're never accountable though. So I just went out there and I looked at Alf and I picked him up and I did the whole first I put the microphone to Alf's. I said, Alf wants to say something, and I went like that. I've got to speak, right? So Alf didn't say anything because he doesn't speak, right?
Yeah.
I was so delusional, like I was so out of my head as far as we'd had a big day. And I just thought we could do anything now. We can do absolutely anything. And we did this amazing show. We went a little bit longer, but no one complained.
Yeah, that's good.
Which was great. But it was very Blues Brothers.
But we do talk about it in our Patreon show.
Do.
So if you want to hear, a couple of other things happen. If you want to hear all about it, guys, jump on board and become a Patreon.
Yes.
You can become a Patreon for as little as $1.50 a month.
Yeah, okay. So we need to check these prices.
Do we? Have they gone up a little bit?
No, they haven't. They've gone down.
Have they really?
I've changed it to Australian dollars now.
Beautiful.
Because it's harder. If you say $10, it's actually 10 US.
Yeah, right.
It's now 15 Australian dollars to get the extra bonuses,
Is
right?
that right?
Where it used to be 16
Okay.
Australian.
10, that's
10,
right.
10
Yeah.
US, 16
So
Australian.
I put it down $1 and a bit because it was just getting too confusing.
Yeah.
And you're not having to. People don't have to work out the exchange rate now.
Exactly. So, and it's $2 really Aussie dollars to.
So
keep the
$2
license.
to jump on board
Yeah,
now.
$2
and
to jump on
$15 to get the
board.
extra episodes.
That's right.
Beautiful.
If you jump on for $2 this week, we'll give you an extra episode with that story on it. Why not?
Beautiful.
Just for this week.
Because it was really interesting, we
It
felt.
was
So
really interesting.
jump
And-
on board as a Patreon.
Yeah, that's right. And $15 you get the extra bonus episode. So it's gone down a little bit, guys. I have let our Patreons know, but yeah, join on, jump on board.
What's the address for the Patreons, babe?
Patreon.com/the 80s Montage Podcast.
Beautiful.
Mm.
Getting back to the Blues Brothers now.
Well, that's all I could think of during that show. Watching it.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the opening scene. The opening scene drags, I must admit. It
Are
is.
we in the jail?
Even the opening scene of the smog of Chicago and the flames coming out of the chimney and
I love the
Although-
skyline opening scene though.
You know what I noticed straight away in the jail?
Yeah.
The Frank Oz cameo.
yes,
Frank Oz popping up. The voice of Yoda and
Miss Piggy
Miss
and
Piggy
Oh, wow.
and
the other half of the Muppets, basically.
Yeah. So Frank Oz is the sort of corrections officer that's like counting out all these personal effects.
Giving him back his
his watch and stuff.
A sort of what is it? An unused prophylactic.
one prophylactic unused, and then he pulls a pen out of his pocket, leads into the box and picks it up and goes, one soil.
Like he's
Oh
got
my
like a used
God.
dinger in his pocket.
I know. So funny.
Anyway,
I
he
saw
did
he-
the exact same role in Trading Places. Can you remember?
Did he?
Can you remember when Dan Aykroyd's going to jail and they're doing the opposite? And Dan Aykroyd's like he's a snob.
The rich millionaire snobby guy.
Yeah. And they're throwing him into jail because it's all about trading places. Throwing him into jail, and they're pulling sort of all his belongings out of his pocket and counting them. And he says something like, Frank Oz says, like, 2 tickets to La Boheme. And Dan Aykroyd goes, it's La Boheme. It's an opera. And Frank Oz goes, oh, it's an opera, like this. Remember?
No, I
anyway,
didn't remember.
The
He was in it.
exact same role. So this was 1980. Trading Places would have been 1983.
Yeah.
But
Right.
also written by Dan Aykroyd. So he's sort
Right.
of taken him sort of from that
So
role.
it's a tribute to his
I
to the
guess
previous
so.
movie.
Yeah.
Some people just do that role really well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
You
used to
can't
happen a
think
lot.
of anyone else.
That
you know?
used to happen a lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like Susie Porter used to get a lot of that funny girl stuff. And
Yeah.
when she did Welcome to Whoop Whoop or whatever, and it was Susie Porter's a genius actress.
Yeah.
And when I worked with her on Wentworth, she was scary, man. Like she was more scared of me though because she thought I was a nut job. But we got along really well. But I used to have to scream at her in Wentworth and go, yeah, and she used to go, you're nuts, because I wasn't an actress as such. You know what I mean? She was the real deal for years and years. But yeah, people were typecast to that kind of thing.
Yeah, they were.
Now the
Yeah.
first person I actually recognised, which blew me away a bit, was Shaka Khan.
I didn't realise that
Yeah.
Shaka Khan was in the choir. So
She doesn't say anything
Yeah.
though, but I saw her straight away.
I only found that out today because
Right.
I've seen the movie more than 20 times.
Yeah.
But I decided today I had a day off at home and I thought it's freezing outside. I'm going to put my hoodie on.
Yeah.
I'm going to park my butt on the couch and I'm going to watch it again.
Yeah.
And I watched the extended version because
Oh, yeah.
I've got the extended version. So there's
Fucking
another.
how long's the extended version?
Oh, it runs.
go?
It's got an another
10 days?
no, it's got another 10 minutes of footage that was cut.
Something I'd love.
Which I found fascinating because the first 19 times or so I saw the film, like I know that film off by heart.
Yeah.
And I'm watching it today on the couch going, that wasn't in the original.
Yeah,
That wasn't in
right.
the original. So I was glued to it, just seeing these
Yeah.
extra snippets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
But so
incredible.
it was today that I realised Shaka Khan was
Yeah.
in James Brown's choir in the
That's right.
church. Which,
That's right.
yeah.
And James Brown did an incredible
He
job
did.
as the Reverend.
He did.
Reverend Cleophas James.
Yeah.
Very good actor.
Yeah.
Now
Well,
I
I
was
mean, he
reading.
acted on stage.
I was reading something about like a lot of these legendary singers actually found it very difficult to lip sync. So James Brown actually sang his live. The choirs was like pre-recorded, just
Yeah.
like you would for a musical film. But James Brown couldn't sort of get his head around it, and
Well,
he ended up singing his
because he
live.
never sings. He's one of those artists who gets bored easily with repetition. So
Yeah.
every time he sings a song, he just puts something different in it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And so for him to sing that song, "The Old Landmark,"
Yeah.
if they recorded him singing it when he's out there in the church performing it, for the cameras,
Yeah.
he would just think differently. He wouldn't remember what he had done.
Yeah,
so he
exactly
wouldn't be
right.
able to mime properly. So
Yeah.
they recorded everything was pre-recorded, but they did James's vocal was live with the filming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, did you notice? Later in the film Aretha's performance? Apparently, she could not do it. The lip sync, and it's really, really highly, fastly edited because they were getting tiny little moments where she actually was in sync with the recorded
really?
song
Yeah.
because she just couldn't get her head around it.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I thought her acting was great.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. She's
Yeah.
tough.
And I thought Ray Charles was great. I thought James Brown was I thought they're
All of the cameos were really well done.
yeah, they were fantastic, really strong.
Kathleen Freeman as the Mother Superior at the orphanage.
What do
I
we
thought
know
was
her
magnificent.
because I was blown away when I saw her. What do we really know her from the most as
Yes.
as
It's a good
Australians?
question. I honestly can't put her in another movie that I can think of off the top of my head.
She looks like my ex-mother-in-law.
Yeah.
But I can't think of what was the big sort of from an Australian perspective, what was the big sort of definitive role that she did?
I'll Google and see
I was-
What was her name?
Kathleen Freeman.
Yeah. She played the nun.
Was she in fried green tomatoes?
That was a few years later. So, she might have been. I'm not sure.
Or
Hang on,
whatever
I'm
that
gonna go
movie was called.
Kathleen Freeman.
Because I knew the face, but she looked really young.
Yeah.
American actress in a career that spanned more than 50 years.
Wow. We can't remember
She
one
did
movie.
12. She did 12 Jerry Lewis comedies. There you go.
Oh, God.
And the Blues Brothers filmography. Here we go. The Naked 40s, 50s.
I met Jerry Lewis.
You met Jerry Lewis.
Yeah.
Was he lovely?
He is incredibly has he passed away?
Jerry Lewis.
Jerry, yes, he
yeah,
has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can say what you
I
like
can say
now.
was. He was incredibly sentimental, like very teary and like very emotional and like it was the sort of sad clown thing because he was like the definitive comic of his time.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess I expected something a bit more upbeat, but he was very emotional.
He also invented the playback system that they
right.
use in movies.
Yeah.
Because in the old days, of course, with a film camera, you need
Yeah.
to shoot your stuff, then you go and develop it and see what it looked like.
Yeah.
He invented a system so they could watch it back immediately.
Yeah.
Which is, that's pretty high tech and
Yeah.
clever of him.
I forgot that too. He was
Yeah.
like very much into the sort of
The technical.
side of it and sort of learnt on the job all those films that he used to do with Dean Martin and everything all those years,
A couple of famous movies that Kathleen Freeman was in. The Greatest Show on Earth.
Yep.
Singing in the Rain she was in.
Yeah.
She was in a heap of them, but I
I
must
feel
admit
it was
I don't know
something in
most
the
of these.
80s
Yeah,
though. I
I'm
feel
trying
it
to
was
think of
something in the
that.
80s.
Okay,
that
let me
she
scroll
did.
through to the 80s. 80, The Blues Brothers. 81, Heartbeeps. 86, The Best of Times, Inside Out, and a movie called The Malibu Bikini Shop. Haven't seen that, must look it up. In the Mood, Dragnet she was in, which was another Dan Aykroyd film with Tom Hanks.
Oh, that's right.
Inner Space, Teen Wolf 2.
Maybe.
Maybe it was that.
Maybe it was Teen Wolf 2.
Maybe.
Gremlins 2 she was in.
Oh, that
Maybe
would
it was
be
Gremlins 2.
Gremlins.
Yeah.
Naked Gun 33 and a third if we
Oh my
move
God,
into the 90s.
I remember her. Okay, so in Gremlins 2, she's the chick that's doing the cooking show. So remember Gremlins 2, it was all about like a television network that was based in the building and the Gremlins take it over.
Oh, yeah.
And she was playing like an alcoholic cook that was doing a cooking show, and she was like, add a little bit of wine.
I remember that.
Some people use a little bit. I like to use a lot.
Yes, Maddie said that was me cooking and actually showed me that one day and said, this is you cooking. This is you in 20 years and you're going to look like this chick. And I went, maybe. Could be right. That's the only reason I know.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
That's incredible.
I fucking knew it.
We'll have to
See,
put that in
together,
our link.
Tell you what, we came up with it, didn't
Yeah.
we? Beautiful.
Well, I thought she was great in the Blues Brothers as the nun. Mother Mary Stigmata, I think was her name. And I thought it was beautifully written, the scene where Jake, Jake says, "Oh, $5,000, no worries, we'll have it for you in the morning." She says, "Oh, I won't take any of your filthy stolen money." And he says, "Well, I guess you're really up shit creek." And she hits him.
Yeah.
And then she says, "What did you say?" And so he repeats the thing. So she hits him
Oh,
again.
yeah, that's right.
And then Elwood turns to him and says, "Oh, Christ, Jake, you can't talk like that in front of her." And so she hits him.
Yeah.
And then Jake's gone, "Oh, shit," because he hit her.
Yeah.
It's like
a
slapstick.
slap.
Now,
And
you know
I
how-
thought that was brilliant.
You know, straight after that, they do a big tumble down the stairs.
Yeah.
James Belushi. There we go again.
Johnny.
I'm just going to say Belushi.
Yeah, Belushi.
Just say Jake.
Jake tumbles down the stairs. They both do. He really hurt his back and was in he was in like a support for the rest of the film.
Really?
So you know how he looks really stiff and everything?
Yes.
I thought that was a character choice because he was
Right.
like trying to stand up tall like Dan Aykroyd's tall, because Dan Aykroyd's tall.
Yeah.
Huge.
He had fucked his back.
Wow.
Incredible. Now, Carrie Fisher, we must talk about her.
Yeah.
She's just going to light stuff on fire.
Yeah.
That's what triggered me for our weekend
Pretty
gig.
fucking funny.
That's right. Because I'm like, oh my God, at least we didn't really have a venue on fire. Because she
What is
keeps
it with
just.
it's eventful at that venue every time we go. Remember last time?
Yeah, it's probably got ghosts.
Bloody hell.
But I was triggered with her, firstly, stalking
Well,
the band.
she is unforgettable at that age because she I love her in Empire Strikes Back.
Which was the same
They were
year, I
released in
think
the
it would
same
be.
year.
Yeah.
They were released in the same year.
Yeah.
So I'd say just because of size of the film and commitment and all of that kind of thing, I can't imagine them releasing her from her contract to duck away and do, you know, a couple of days on this.
Yeah.
I reckon they've completely gotten Empire Strikes Back in the can.
In the can.
And
Well,
then she's
probably
come and
because
done
there would have
this.
been, because of the special effects required for Empire Strikes Back,
Yeah.
it was probably all filmed in 78, 79, and
Yeah,
and 80 was
yeah.
probably the tail end of the editing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
so that would make
absolutely.
sense. Yeah.
And she's also engaged to Dan Aykroyd at this stage.
Only just.
Yeah.
So,
So was this before she married Paul Simon or after? Because she was married
I think
to Paul
she
Simon.
married Paul after
I think it was after.
was after.
because
It
he
was
had
after.
Graceland.
I don't think they married. Dan Aykroyd and her didn't marry.
They were engaged and didn't get married. Is that the story?
They got engaged during this, and apparently they bonded because she was choking, and he came like on
Choking
set.
on what?
Chewbacca's cock. I don't know.
Chewbacca's cock.
Yeah, just a big furball.
No, who did she date in Star Wars? Oh, she banged him.
Harrison Ford.
Harrison Ford,
Yeah.
years
Choking on him.
before though. But
Nice one.
she was choking on set, and he gave her the Heimlich maneuver.
Right.
And like she had this sort of like, you know, when someone saves you and you just, you know, you get
You
sort
gravitate
of
to them.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
you get bonded to them. That happened. She does have a very, or did when she was younger, a very clingy quality.
Really?
She had many romances.
Yeah.
Maybe she thought.
Well, she had a very bizarre sort of upbringing in
Yeah,
her
she
childhood.
did.
Oh, yeah.
Very vacant parents, and she
Yeah,
was just
right.
like looking for somebody
Vacant
to
parents.
looking for somebody to care
I went
for
and
her.
saw it because it was Debbie Reynolds and Eddie Fisher were her
Yes.
parents. I went and saw her stage show when she came
Oh,
out.
that would have been
been
great.
It was
incredible.
one of the greatest things ever.
I can imagine.
She had stories to tell, but at the start she comes out and says, "This is an interactive experience. I get bored shitless if I do the same thing all the time. So
Yep.
I've got some stories to tell, but if you've got questions, sing out.
Yeah.
Somebody give me a question to start things off."
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I can't remember what happened. Someone did.
Are
but-
you high now? Or?
well, she talked about
You got in a line of cake?
well, she talked about all the drug use and stuff, and,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
how
yeah.
and how she had a friend who came over and stayed at her house, and she woke up the next morning and he was dead in
Oh,
the bed.
dear.
Yeah,
Serious.
and
That's not good.
Fucking hell.
yeah,
Was
but
that after she fucked him?
it would have been because it was the next day.
Wow.
But yeah, it was. It was
not a good review, is it?
It was no, that's true. It was such
always
a
been
such a good show
scared of
though. I just loved Carrie Fisher.
Where was
I
that show?
adored her. I think it was at the Athenaeum or
The Athenaeum,
yeah,
right.
just-
Serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because there was a show. Did they have a show, her and Debbie Reynolds, like a reality show? And I remember them talking about that show. Or it might have
did
been
they?
some show that the mum and the daughter had. And they talked about the dad. And then they brought the little girl in as well. And they lived together, lived in the same house.
Yeah.
But it was interesting. Carrie Fisher for me was like this weird character that just kept
Yeah, there was
shooting stuff.
no
She was-
explanation until
No
the
explanation.
end of the
No.
movie.
Yeah.
And
which
that-
was kind of cool. I liked that about it.
well, a thing that sort of separated, I think, the Blues Brothers from so many different characters in movies was that all that stuff happened around them. Like she blew up with explosives, the apartment they were staying in.
Yeah.
And they clamber out of the bricks and go, and as they're dusting themselves off, notice the time and go, "Oh, we've got to get to work."
Yeah,
Yeah, we're going to
right.
get to it. Like, not a mention of what
Not a
just
mention
happened.
of the fact that.
But I love. Did you notice? And I really noticed this today. They obviously use styrofoam for those bricks.
Yeah.
And the bricks are just sort of lightly tumbling, but they've got like the brick tumbling noise over
Yeah,
the
or the
top.
clinking,
Yeah,
yeah.
really sort of canned like sound effect coming over the top. Yeah, very funny.
So should we play this track that you had sent to us?
Oh, okay. So, so I'll explain what this
Yes.
is. So we've got a song which didn't actually appear in the movie. So when Dan Aykroyd wrote that 300-odd page thing, he realised it was long. And so his plan was to do, as they used to in the 40s and 50s and stuff with movies and stuff, they'd have an intermission in the cinema. So the plan was, in the scene of Bob's Country Bunker, where they're singing, to all the country people there.
Rawhide and stuff.
They start with Rawhide, then they sing Stand By Your Man.
Yeah, that's right.
They were then going to fade out to an intermission. So people would go out in the foyer, get
some chips.
fresh popcorn and
Yep.
stuff, come back in, and the second half would start with this song. But as it was, so many things ended up being cut because the movie was just way too long that they dropped this entire song. And it's a song called Sink the Bismarck. And the Bismarck was a German warship. It was a
right.
real ship.
Yep.
And it was the pride of the German fleet.
Yeah.
And the Allies realised that it had to be sunk in order to make a stand and to show that
Yeah.
we're winning the war. So the order was given, we've got to sink the Bismarck. And someone, I can't remember who now, I didn't make a note of it, but someone wrote a song called Sink the Bismarck, and the Blues Brothers performed it. And it was only ever played once, and that was on Dr. Demento's show, his radio show in the US. But because of the internet now, these things have a way of coming out. So yeah, this is a song from the movie, but never actually made it in the final cut.
Here we go.
It's me
May of 1941, the war had just begun. The Germans had the biggest ship that had the biggest guns. The Bismarck was the fastest ship that ever sailed the seas. On the decks were guns as big as steers and shells as big as trees. Out of the cold and foggy night came the British ship, the Hood. And every British seaman, he knew and understood. They had to sink the Bismarck, the peril of the sea. Stop those guns as big as steers and those shells as big as trees. Hey, find the German battleship was making such a fuss. We gotta sink the Bismarck, cause the world depends on us. Hey, hit the decks to run, boys, and spin those guns around. When we find the Bismarck, we gotta cut her down.
So there you go.
Wow.
And it's one of the few songs that Elwood actually takes part in doing the vocals.
Yeah,
Because it was
yeah.
pretty much that and Rawhide were the only songs he really sort of sang.
Yeah, that's true.
Because
Yeah.
Jake was the lead vocalist.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because Dan Aykroyd.
He's
no
not a
disrespect,
bad
but
looking
he wasn't the-
rooster.
Dan Aykroyd?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
And then
he was all right.
because I fell asleep at the end, I woke up and the 2000 one was on. And I was
Okay,
just
yeah.
comparing the way he looked to the 80s one, and he really hadn't changed.
No, he held up all right
He
over
actually
those.
looked better.
Yeah.
He absolutely shits me.
Really.
Dan
Dan Aykroyd
Aykroyd.
shits you. Really?
And the thing is, he's so prolific. Like in this period, like, you know, especially in this sort of early 80s period, but right the way through, you know, you look at the success of Ghostbusters and
Yeah.
how that really exploded, and right into the 90s, you know,
Yeah.
as a writer and producer and filmmaker and an actor, so prolific, like so many projects.
And
Just some people
I
do
can't
that to
stand
you.
him.
So
I can't stand him.
I love.
I think he's like as funny as a car accident.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I see. Blues Brothers is my favourite movie, but my favourite Dan Aykroyd acting job was in Dragnet, where he played Joe Friday.
Yeah, I remember.
Because there was no one better, I think, in the modern age to take up that role than Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
he has a great deadpan delivery.
Yeah.
But I love him. So there you go. Not all people have the same tastes. We can still be friends.
I just don't find him funny, and he always plays comedy. I don't think I've ever seen him in a dramatic role. He always plays comedy, and it's difficult when this person's constantly being fed to you.
Yeah. Well,
And you just don't find them funny, and they're always in comedic roles.
I guess his brand of comedy though is the understated. Like he would be the more serious one in a comedy duo. So like
think
Dean
he's-
Martin and Jerry Lewis. You've got Jerry Lewis and
Yeah.
you've got Dean Martin.
yeah.
Abbott and Costello. You know, the one mad and the other.
Yeah.
There's got to be a straight man.
Although I thought he was fantastic in Ghostbusters. I thought him with Bill Murray, they were a beautiful sort of duality.
Yeah.
You know, and a great ensemble cast.
Ghostbusters is another movie show you could do because there's a lot of great stories behind Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Do ghost movies.
Including when Bill Murray, the day one of filming, they still didn't know if Bill Murray was going to turn up.
Really?
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I love that story. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So that's one you could do one day.
Now, what about this other track, Sweet?
Yeah. So what was the other one?
The other one was Rubber Biscuit.
Oh, Rubber Biscuit. Okay,
Yeah.
so Jay, you mentioned earlier the Blues Brothers were a band before the movie. The movie is sort of the backstory to the characters of the band.
These people had a band for sure.
This was an actual band. So
Right.
John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd were at the time working on Saturday Night Live.
Right.
They were both writers. Dan, I made a note of their sort of history. So Dan was Canadian, and he was in a group called Second City Theatre doing comedy and stuff up there. And he was working on a kids' TV show, doing appearances on that. And he also ran an illegal bar that he'd invite the police to.
That's how he met Carrie Fisher.
Well, probably. Well, I wouldn't be surprised. But so he says he was making more money than the Canadian Prime Minister. John Belushi had already made it to be quite successful working for National Lampoon, who of course
yes.
were huge in the world of comedy.
Yeah.
Animal House. And all
Yeah,
that.
all that. So John was recruiting for the National Lampoon radio show at the time, and he came up to Canada and met Dan Aykroyd, and he said, "I want you to come and work with us." And Dan was sort of not really for it, but when they met, they were hanging out in Dan's underground bar. And they sort of bonded very quickly, became very good friends. And that was where the first mention of the idea that they could do a blues tribute show happened, because Dan was playing blues music and John Belushi was very much a heavy metal fan.
Yeah.
But he was listening to this stuff that Dan was playing. He said, "Oh, this is really good. I'm a bit bored with all the shit I listen to.
Yeah.
This stuff's really good. Tell me about it." And so they bonded over blues music.
Oh, wow.
And so when they ended up working on Saturday Night Live together, the producers and the bosses used to make them wear these bee outfits, which were quite prolific. If you look back over old tapes and stuff, you see them wearing, bumblebee
Like
outfits.
Buzzy
And
Bee?
well, no, it's like, the bumblebee man in The
Room?
Simpsons. You know the bumblebee character?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's basically John Belushi.
I just think Nirvana.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Is it Nirvana
Nah,
or
the
Pearl Jam?
Lemonheads.
The Lemonheads?
Yeah. The little kid dressed up as
Yeah.
a bee.
Is it the Lemonheads?
It's the Lemonheads.
Wow.
All I can do is just sing a song for two.
Oh, yeah, I don't mind that song, yeah.
Yeah.
But so they used to do musical numbers because there was a Saturday Night Live band. So they all used to have to perform with that. And they got a couple of the Saturday Night Live people, and they got some other musos as well who ended up being the Blues Brothers band. And they started, because they had this love of it, they created these Blues Brothers characters. And they used to do little gigs off the side, not actually on Saturday Night Live, but other gigs,
But
because
it's
they were
good.
well-known names.
Yeah.
And people started going to see them.
Of course they would.
And they released an album, which was actually when Steve Martin was at the height of his popularity. He was doing a concert, a comedy concert, and he had the Blues Brothers show band open for him. And they recorded that and released it as an album in 1979 or 78 or 79 called Briefcase Full of Blues. And it's one of the highest selling blues albums ever.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. They were hugely
And they really,
popular.
and they really
Yeah.
and then from there, because of the success of that, the Blues Brothers started featuring on Saturday Night Live, because they were just
Right.
cast members, and they weren't sort of viewed as important. It was all about Chevy Chase.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
So
Yes.
so that's where the Blues Brothers sort of came from. Their big break was really opening for Steve Martin and putting out an album of it.
Yeah.
And
I love Steve Martin.
yeah,
Because I always used to wonder with the film, how did they get those cameos? Like, how did they get all of those cameos? They were already popular. They were already popular. They were already known.
Yeah.
And particularly musically, and so that's why all these heavyweights sort of lent their names to the project.
Yeah, because all the band members have such huge backgrounds in their own right.
Yeah.
With Booker T and the MGs and
Yeah.
bands like that.
Yeah, and they weren't actors either, the musos.
No,
and you could tell a bit, but I really loved the saxophone player. I thought he was fantastic.
Blue Lou Marini.
Yeah, I loved him.
Yeah.
With the
I thought he
hair.
was a bit hot and
So
bit out there.
I thought Mac Guitar Murphy was the funny one, especially when Aretha Franklin's pushing him around in the coffee shop.
he
with
the guitarist?
The big black
Yeah, yeah,
guitar.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
fuck,
yeah.
I love that
he,
scene.
I
It's a
know
great
his
scene.
face
What does he say?
in bands.
He says something like, don't rile up, sugar, or something like that. And I
Don't
was
get
like,
riled, sugar.
Yeah,
Oh,
don't
yeah,
you
'cause
don't
he
get
plays-
riled, sugar
Yeah,
me.
don't get riled.
Yeah, because he plays the love interest, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I can't stand Think.
Really?
Serious?
Oh.
Oh, I love it.
Really?
Yeah.
You know what it is? It's the Melbourne music scene that's done this to me.
Really?
Has it been
the
covered to
Grand
death, has it? or-
Have
Wazoos and
people
the fucking-
attempted it?
Just white chicks trying to sing it.
Shut up.
I
Yeah, no,
can't
no.
do white chicks singing
Why
Aretha
would you
ever.
ever?
Ever. And they do.
Yeah, they
You
should.
are like-
no.
And you're like, oh, another white chick trying to do Aretha.
Yeah, no, it's not good.
I just can't do. Should we just play
So
this
this
track?
is So this is a song. It's a nonsensical song, but again, it's one of the few times. It's the only song on the album that Elwood actually sings, because, as I say, Jake was the lead singer, but Dan occasionally liked to get out in front, and so they had this song on the that concert with Steve Martin and the album, and it's called Rubber Biscuit.
Do that again.
Ball, ball, ball. Here, right ahead, another hit, mama. Yeah, right ahead, number, number, number. Here, right ahead, another chicken water. I right ahead, another hit, mama. Here, Have you ever heard of a wish sandwich? A wish sandwich is the kind of a sandwich where you have 2 slices of bread and you wish you had some meat. Ball, ball, ball.
Wish you had some meat between a sandwich.
Yes.
Sounds like my kind of party.
So there you go. So that's a bit of fun, something a little different.
That's right. Now, have you seen a Blues Brothers tribute at all? Are you one of those fans that...
I have.
Right. There's a couple good ones.
Yeah, it's really hard to replicate John Belushi in particular.
God, yeah.
And they were such powerhouse musicians, but so it's hard to replicate, but it is always good fun.
Yeah.
And I did on a couple of occasions go to the Valhalla Cinema on a Friday night when they used to screen the Blues Brothers, and people would act out scenes underneath the...
like the Rocky Horror thing.
Yeah,
right.
that sort of thing. The Blues Brothers at the Valhalla Cinema was just fantastic. It was a wonderful event.
So we did in Tasmania, Rewind 80s did Mole Creek. It's called Mole Creek, and they had a Blues Brothers band on before us.
Yeah.
And they go hard. The frontmen go hard, and they're big boys.
Yeah.
I always get very nervous.
That someone's going to have a heart attack.
Yeah, very nervous.
Well, that's
because I know from singing and dancing, as you get older, it doesn't get any easier.
Yeah.
And you just constantly going, all right, okay, got to stop, got to slow down.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, when I started in life, when I started watching the Blues Brothers, I had a figure like Elwood's. Now I'm more like Jake. That's sad on my part.
Well, but you need, like, it's, you know what, it doesn't mean if you're that big that you're not fit. I'm sure that everyone's fit, but it just scares me a bit watching these men that aren't the real thing.
Yeah.
Do this. And I just watched them for a little while, and the bands are very, very good. I'd prefer to see a Blues Brothers tribute band than a soul band with 3 white chicks doing Aretha.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah.
You know, that just drives me nuts. And I've never done it myself because I'd feel, what are you trying to say, you know?
Yep.
But that song was a good one.
Yeah, well, I like it. And I love that whole album. And I bought all the Blues Brothers albums. I had them pinned up on my wall as well. Because
what do you like about it? What does it do for you?
Look, I think it's just that thing that it's an era. Like, I was 9 when the movie came out, but I reckon...
very young to understand something like that, though.
I don't think I saw it. I think I was introduced to the Blues Brothers by a couple of schoolmates when I was in year 7, which would be 1984. No, hang on. Yeah, about 1984. So by then I was 13, and that's such an impressionable age.
Yeah.
And my dad had a Blues Brothers type hat. I used to love that hat, and I used to wear that around the house and thought it looked awesome. And so, and then the Blues Brothers, there they are, singing, dancing, singing music that I loved, because I love a good horn section in a band.
Yeah.
And there's the hat and the
Horns
glasses. I just thought they looked fantastic, and so I just fell in love with it. And and the characters are so odd. And it was also such an original musical, because it's not a musical in the classic sense where, you know, normally with a musical, be it stage or screen, the plot gets to a certain point and then the act bursts into song to examine that plot point, you know, to express an emotion about how they're feeling.
The only song that does that is Think.
Yeah.
The only song that
that's
sort of
right.
is like a traditional musical number is Think.
That's
Should
right.
we give Think a little bit of a run?
Oh, yeah.
Here we
have
go,
to,
guys.
Think about it. You better think about what's trying to do to me, yeah. Let your mind go, let yourself be free. Let's go back, way on back way. I didn't even know you couldn't have been too much more than take. I ain't no psychiatrist, I ain't no doctor with degrees. It don't take too much IQ to see what you're doing to me. You better think
you mentioned, Sammy, white chicks doing Aretha.
Yeah.
And how it's
Can't
no
watch
one
them.
can touch. What I love about Aretha is it
Or
all
Shaka.
it almost
Don't go
seems true, but it almost seems so effortless for her.
No, yeah,
She
yeah,
opens
yeah.
her mouth and magic just pours
Yeah.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's got an interesting layering to her
Yeah.
voice. There's actually gaps in it, which is really interesting. It's not a full 3-layered voice. There's a sort of the middle missing and the top and the bottom just it's interesting. I could never do that, but and I think that's why what makes her so difficult is that the layering in her voice, she misses a layer,
Yeah.
but she brings it through this power, but just doesn't do it. It's not technically amazing,
No,
put it
it's
that
not.
way.
Yeah.
It really isn't. So when you see a girl do this, you're kind of like, I don't want to compare it to you because you're still singing very differently to what Aretha does. The thing I don't like about characters in this movie like that, because I've been running bands for years and been in bands and watched men and women together, it gripes me when a woman will say to their boyfriend, you can't be in a band, you're with me now.
Yeah.
We have commitments, we've got a real job, you need to stay home. I can't stand that personality in a woman because I'm not like that.
But you know it's not real.
I know
just
it's
a
not real,
movie.
but you know what? It is real.
The thing is, we've dealt with it
is
so
real,
many
though.
fucking
Yeah.
times.
This happens all the time. Like, you're going to lose me if you go on tour with da-da-da
Oh,
because, you
It's
know,
a syndrome.
it's
a syndrome with
man.
musos.
It
It's
is.
unbelievable. And what happens is
And it triggers me something stupid.
because these sort of like young, talented, hot guys are up showcasing themselves week after week, eventually they will sort of pick up with, you know, one of the girls in the crowd and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, I think it's out of fear because that girl is uncomfortable with, you know, him continuing to go out and showcase himself in front of people.
Yeah.
And she'll just sort of put the clamps on. I know I sound like a chauvinist,
Yeah.
but I tell you what, I've
Yeah.
watched it so many
Yeah,
fucking
no, I
times.
have
It's
too.
unbelievable.
I've lost many a musician to a nut job
Wow.
that wants a normal life because it's not a normal life to some women,
No.
you know. She runs a restaurant. She wants to keep the money coming in and he's the cook or something, isn't he?
Yeah,
Or
he
something?
just
Yeah.
yeah.
And then he wants to do the music thing. I've never been like that. And even now, like when Maddie wanted to go to LA and do a gig and live over there for a year, I went, go and do it.
Yep.
My girlfriends were like, what? You're kidding, yeah?
Do you know what I thought was funny is sort of, you know, when old mate went off to jail, when Jake went off to jail and the rest of the band sort of go and find real jobs and everything when
Yeah.
the band's broken off, how two of the guys go into hospitality, like one sort of flipping burgers and the other one is maitre d' in a fancy restaurant.
Alan
And-
Rubin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's considered, you know, sort
Made
of
it.
making good
That's
money.
right.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, fuck. But I
Yeah.
love it when they go into the fancy restaurant to emancipate that guy, like get him out of there.
Oh, it's a great scene.
And that
How much for the little girl?
How much for the little girl? I always wondered where that came from, and I was like, ah,
That's it.
That is so quoted. You know, how
Yeah.
much for the women?
Yeah. So maybe it's a bit of that, bit of triggering that.
Well, don't watch Blues Brothers 2000 because the exact same thing happens again. At this
Aretha's
stage,
in it again,
Aretha's in it
isn't
again.
she?
She sings
Yeah.
Respect in the sequel.
Yeah.
Oh, she sings. Oh, my
She
other
sings
favourite.
Respect. Yep. Well, and they run a car dealership. So she's taken him back after he ran off, joined the band last time. They all end up
Oh,
in
so
prison.
that story gets okay because I often wondered what happened there.
Yeah. Well, all
Oh,
the
that
band
didn't
members
go
come back.
anywhere. Right.
Yeah. So yeah, in the sequel, it's almost the same thing. Jake has died because John Belushi
John's
passed
gone.
away.
That's right.
Elwood gets out of
Because it
Two
was
or 3 years
actually,
later after this film. 2 or
Wasn't
3
it-
years later after this film.
It was for John. It was for who else died? They gave the movie. It was in memoriam to
Yeah.
them. Cab Calloway had passed.
Yep.
And also, was it Ray Charles?
Had Ray gone by No, I thought Ray was a bit
Okay.
later.
Ray was in We Are the World in 1985.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no,
right.
but this is the sequel.
Oh, the sequel.
in
Yeah,
memoriam.
right.
2000.
Right.
I think Ray
I don't
might.
know. Ray
I just
had a
remember
good
watching
innings.
it.
Yeah.
and it was dedicated to these people.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but then I fell asleep again. Long weekend, as you can tell. But yeah, let's play another track from the album because it's been fantastic. Now, I want to talk about Peter Gunn.
Yes.
2004, Ray died.
Oh, yeah, so he was still
he was still
alive.
around for the
right,
sequel,
okay.
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know who it was then, but I was hoping it wasn't Ray because I do really like Ray.
Yeah.
I think he's a fabulous musician. Let's play this track because this track I noticed straight away in the start of the movie. Dum, 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 dum. But it brought memories back to me at this time. For 5-10 years, we used to do the Peter Gunn dance at the dance schools and stuff. So here we go.
Great piece.
It is. Now, who wrote it?
Henry Mancini, I think, wrote
Henry
that.
Mancini.
The Peter Gunn theme, because Peter Gunn was a detective series
That's
in the
right.
60s, yeah.
Oh, so it has been used before
Yeah,
this
so
movie.
that was the theme for a TV show, yeah.
Right. Because music schools and dance schools
God, yeah.
used to use this as
Soak it up.
routines. You'd get your trench coat on and look left and then right, and
Yeah.
then you'd do your tap, tap, tap.
Oh, look, they're doing some character work.
God, it's
aren't they
great,
cute?
aren't they
Aren't they
beautiful?
cute? Look at them.
Love this track. Look at them in their trench coat. Like we always had to do Peter Gunn.
Yeah.
And it just brought me back to like Bernard King. Like,
Yes.
Because Bernard, every second week there'd be a Peter Gunn routine and hamstring pulling and stuff. So I thought I'd just touch wood, that's not nice. I thought I would just touch base with Bernard King when he used to look at people and stuff like that.
Judge people on potluck.
He was harsh.
He was.
Was
And
he
for
on
some
New Faces
The original
as well,
mean
or was it
judge.
just potluck?
I think it was just potluck. New Faces was Daryl, wasn't it? Daryl.
No. Well, New Faces.
Or Ernie.
No, Bert Newton hosted New
That's
Faces.
right, Bert Newton.
And I think Athol Guy, or one of the Seekers, was a judge on that.
Yeah,
And,
it wasn't Bernard, was it?
I don't think Bernard was on with
Yeah.
Bert.
So
could be
I
wrong.
reckon if Bernard watched any of these Peter Gunn routines at these schools,
He would have demolished them.
pretty much say this.
What type of organ is it? It's an awful squashy thing, isn't it? There's not a brilliant moment from that thing. Soon you'll be old enough to give it to a worthy charity and buy yourself an instrument which has some brilliant tone to it. Many of those domestic pieces are like playing through an old used sand shoe, and that's rather the sound you've achieved. We're not satisfied with any brilliant, crisp notes from it all, but let us see that smile. You'll get away with anything. When we come up on you, Ernie does the introduction, ta-da, beaming smile, then you can squash away at that tedious instrument as long as you like, and then flash a big brilliant to us at the end. We'll forgive you the middle part, which is the instrumentalisation. 26.
26 from Bernard. It's Dominico.
26 from Bernard. He was talking about his organ. He brought on an organ.
So fucking scathing.
Oh. And
But
he
like,
thinks like
it's
it's a
just
JVC.
flying over this poor kid's head.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like most of that is just going
Do you think
straight over the
anyone
top.
on that show did anything after Bernard King had gone through them?
No. But the thing about potluck, there was no quality control. So
No.
they used to just spin a wheel and pick people out of the audience. There were no heats or
Is that
anything
right?
like that. Yeah. So that's what they were also
I don't
god
remember that.
awful.
Oh, really?
They were also fucking awful. They weren't sort of trialed. It's just brilliant.
So what, you had an audience full of people that wanted to get on TV?
Yeah, just losers. And it was also in Adelaide.
Oh,
It was
God,
it was in Adelaide.
But there was one guy that did.
hello to Adelaide.
Thriller
Yeah,
or
hi
something.
guys.
We love you.
You guys know.
Yeah, we love Adelaide.
You
We
guys
haven't
know
been
that.
there yet.
You know what I'm talking about.
One guy did this dance routine. It might have been to Michael Jackson or
Scott
something.
Rickson.
Maybe.
His name's Scott Rickson, and he pulls his hammy.
That's right.
That's a wonderful
Funniest
part.
thing
It is.
ever.
And then you had the 4 girls, and then Bernard's like, no, it was Ernie. Ernie's like, what's your name, girls? and they're like, Wenkai Shafi. And he was calling them Wanky Shafy. Bloody Wanky Shafy. There we go, Wanky Shafy. And
love
they
Aussies.
go, it's Wenkai Shafi. Oh, Wenkai Shafi. Where'd you come up with that? And she goes, it's the first 2 letters of each of our names. Wendy, Kylie, Sharon, and Fiona.
That's
How
marvellous.
awesome is that?
Yeah.
And
They-
Bernard's like, have you ever done any dance lessons? And they're like, we've done 1 or 2. He said like, I would believe 1. I would not believe 2. Maybe some aerobics perhaps, but not a dance lesson.
I loved it as a kid watching this guy because my dad was a little bit like that. Like if I'd stuffed up on TV or done something on GMA that was a bit flat, he'd go, God, you really stuffed that first line up. Anyway, we'll watch it,
That's all you need.
Well, it was good soul building because nothing mattered.
Yeah.
Because he knew me, but everyone else wouldn't have known, I was probably just nervous, But he did say to these little girls, I think they did Venus or something, and there were 2 little girls that did Venus, and he goes, very suggestive song, girls, for 15-year-olds. And then he said, whatever your parents, however good they think you are, don't believe them. And I was like, oh, my God.
But he said to another young girl in her teens, I don't think music is for you. Maybe page 3 is more your style.
Oh, my God.
Like he hated her. He hated the side of her. I was just like,
Yeah.
That's the equivalent of saying like, give up acting, go and do OnlyFans.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
Isn't
So
that
great.
terrible?
But that's what Peter Gunn reminds me of is the old dance lessons where you did tap, ball, chain
Yeah.
with you looking around.
Well, I love because I've listened to the original recording of Peter Gunn by Henry Mancini, and it's a great piece. But the Blues Brothers one, I love the way that's mixed. And someone we haven't mentioned who should be mentioned is Paul Schaefer, who was the one
God, yes.
who
Yes.
basically put the band together.
Yes.
He was supposed to be the keyboardist, but wasn't contractually allowed to appear in the movie, which is the only reason he's not in that first one. He's in the sequel.
Paul Schaefer is very much a quiet achiever
Yeah.
because he wrote It's Raining Men, and not many
Did he
people
really?
know that.
Holy shit, I didn't know that.
no.
Yeah, Paul Schaefer wrote It's Raining Men.
I bet he did.
But his fingerprints...
Exactly.
I-
That's exactly right.
I always refer to Paul Schaefer as being like the equivalent over here to me is Ross Wilson. He's
Yeah, well, that's right.
known by himself, but you don't realise just how many fingers he's got in other people's
well, he
pies.
did
Yeah.
John Farnham's record. If you want to look at Rossi Wilson and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, Skyhooks, they were a mess before he got hold of them, and
Yeah.
tightened them up, and
Yeah.
made them punchy.
Yeah.
I've heard early Skyhooks tapes with Steve Hill on lead vocals, and he sounds like Rizzo, the guy from MASH, and it was just it wasn't.
Do you
it wasn't
think
great.
Gudinski got him in to do Skyhawks? Is that what happened?
I don't know. I don't know if he was responsible for it, but
Right.
all I know is
Well, he was the manager and discovered them, sort of.
Okay, well, yeah, quite
Gudinski,
possibly.
yeah.
But yeah, Ross Wilson, just everything Ross Wilson touches seems to turn to gold.
Yeah, Touch of Paradise.
Yeah, he wrote that. Oh, a wonderful, a great line, a great line from Ross Wilson, because we've interviewed him a couple of times over the journey, and we were talking about A Touch of Paradise and how that appeared on John Farnham's Whispering Jack album,
Yeah.
which of course was so huge. So he must have made a bit of coin out of that,
Yeah.
having a song on
Oh,
a John
God,
Farnham album.
absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
So I asked him the question, Ross, how many people, how many other artists have recorded Ross Wilson's songs?
Yeah.
I thought
Yeah.
that was a good question to ask.
Absolutely.
And his answer was fabulous. It was just nowhere near enough. So Paul Schaefer, I think is the American equivalent of Ross Wilson, fingers in pies everywhere, and he produced that sound that the Blues Brothers band have.
Yeah.
So I just think the man's a god, a musical god.
Well, yeah, I saw his name flash up at the start. Now, Shaka Khan was in
the old landmark in the church.
I know who she was, but she didn't have a speaking role. I mean, but she was still in the credits, which sort of is a bit part.
Well, yeah, so there was a choir of people in the church all singing along, and there was just a couple of cutaways to a single girl who would let out a note or a riff or whatever of her own within that choir, and that was Shaka Khan.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it because I'm a huge fan of Shaka Khan.
Yeah, I didn't. As I say, I didn't realise that till today.
Yeah, I saw her straight away.
Yeah,
a couple of other notable cameos. John Candy.
Yes.
Oh yes, God, 100%.
What was his actual function in it?
This is an interesting thing because John Landis said when they started filming, they hadn't actually completely finished tightening up the script.
No.
So in the very beginning, Elwood's given a false address with his licence renewal, 1060 West Addison, which is Wrigley Field, the baseball oval.
Oh, yeah, right.
So the police rock up because they're looking for Elwood, and John Candy is there, and they actually say to him, "Thanks for your help, Mr. So-and-so." So he's just a civilian. But later on in the movie, they thought, no, let's make more use of him. And so he sort of he was like a chief of police.
Yeah.
And
or
so
a private detective or something.
Yeah, and that's why he's bossing the police around. Orange whip, who wants an orange whip?
Yeah.
And when they say, right, let's get these bastards, hang on, I haven't even heard these guys sing. So he's in charge of the police.
Yeah, right.
But at the start of the movie, he was just a civilian.
Yeah.
So it's always been it's just a continuity error there.
One more. The waiter was Paul Rubens, Pee Wee Herman.
Yes.
Remember?
The waiter at the fancy restaurant.
Vaguely.
Yeah, that's right.
2 seconds.
And another one in the steam room, Maurice Sline, the booking agent who got them the Palace Hotel ballroom,
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
is Steve Lawrence. Steve Lawrence and Edie Gourmet, you guys are way too young to know, but Steve Lawrence and Edie Gourmet were huge many years ago.
I'm older than you, Simon.
Yeah, I know, but I worked with old people for 20 years, so I know this stuff.
That's a good thing. It's good. Yeah, well, that's right.
But yeah, Steve Lawrence is a huge
I was
name
just saying to you
American
how
music.
amazing Brady is.
Yeah.
I call him Brady, sorry.
Yeah, Philip Brady.
Philip
my
Brady, but I
co-host.
just call him Brady.
Yeah.
He's incredible. His mind just goes. And when I was listening to your Blackers interview, I was so impressed with that whole show. Daryl Summers, his wife, and
Cecile,
and it was just incredible.
We were very thrilled. Thrilled's the wrong word because when someone passes, you can't say you're thrilled about anything. But to do a
he
tribute
loves
to John
3AW,
Blackman,
so he would have loved that.
well, to do a tribute to John Blackman, who was my inspiration for wanting to get into radio in the beginning. Like he was. There's a few people I say were very influential in me wanting to work in radio.
Yeah.
But top of the tree was John Blackman.
I love the fact that you went to school and your mates told you that he was on 3AW in 68 or something.
He was on 3AW in it was the early 70s. John was
70s.
first on, at 3AW.
Right.
Yeah, he did the 3AW radio school course as a youngster.
Yeah,
run by Dennis Gibbons, but I shouldn't be throwing around names that no one listening to this would know.
Maybe someone will.
Yeah, possibly. Yes,
You never know.
But to do a tribute show and to have John and Cecile both agree to appear was Daryl and Cecile to both appear was. I'm thrilled that they would do that for us, and
amazing,
and the audience loved it as well. So it was very nice.
Let's
One more
play-
cameo.
yes.
More cameo. The chick that pulls into the petrol station where
Twiggy.
Twiggy.
Oh, isn't
How's
she
that?
beautiful?
And I didn't realise it was who
Isn't
it was
she-
until she spoke. I was like, oh my God, there we
I
go.
didn't realise who she was until I read the credits.
Yeah.
But I thought, who is this beautiful woman?
Yeah, Twiggy.
Because he tries to pick her up, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And then at the end, when they're out in the car chase, she's
she's-
waiting at the motel for him.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
They're
Yeah.
the girls you got to watch, right? Because they look like they're not interested and they're right there.
Oh, well, send
You
them my
know.
way.
I love Twiggy in it.
Another one, as they're heading into the diner to get Mac Guitar Murphy and Blue Lou Marini, take him away from Aretha Franklin, playing in the street is John Lee Hooker.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Boom Boom was the song he sang there.
And apparently that was live.
Yes.
I think that one was live.
That was live, yeah. And the version I watched today, because normally in the original edit there's 30 seconds or so of John singing. In the edit I watched today, there's a lot more. Like it's almost a complete song in the film. So it was good to see John Lee Hooker there too.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's play one more song and wrap it up.
Nice.
Wrap her up. All right, here we go. This is a ripper, this song. Listening to the 80s montage. This is our Blues Brothers special. Sime, any more tidbits?
That great song there in Bob's Country Bunker. But there's we did mention Cab Calloway earlier.
Yes.
But there's a great Cab Calloway story that John Landis, the director, told. That song Minnie the Moocher that he sings, and they're all in white, and it's basically a dream
scene. That's right.
Yeah, so that song, it was pretty much 50 years after Cab Calloway originally recorded that song. And it was Cab Calloway's biggest hit, basically.
Oh, so that was his.
That was Cab Calloway recorded that 50 years ago, and then 50 years later he's doing it for the Blues Brothers. And he had recorded, over the journey, he had recorded a cha-cha version, a polka version, a twist version. So he had all these different versions. And he had just apparently recorded a disco version of Minnie the Moocher, which I haven't heard and I don't want to. So when Cab Calloway turned up to the recording session to actually lay down Minnie the Moocher, he listened to the track that they had laid down for him and he said, "Oh, that's very similar to the original. How boring." Well, I've done all these other versions.
Yeah. I wasn't sure which way it was going to go either.
Yeah. Well, Cab was really disappointed because he'd done all these other versions and he was wheeling something out from 50 years ago. Yeah. I'm not happy. So he was a bit cranky about it. And they said, "Well, look, can you just record it for us anyway? That's the way it's done." So he huffed and puffed and agreed. So he recorded it. And then he came out and said, "How was that?" And John Landis said, "It was awful." Oh. He said, "It was awful." Oh. And so he cracked the sads again, and he's thinking, "Oh, well, how do I tell Cab Calloway we've got to do another take?" And he's got to lift his game. How do you say that to a legend?
What was awful, him or the music?
He just didn't put the effort into the vocal because he wasn't into it. Yeah. So he said it was bad, and I thought it would be good because I thought it would be great because you're Cab Calloway. It should be great. And Cab apparently said back to him, "Well, you didn't tell me you wanted great. Fine, I'll do it again."
Oh, that's awesome.
And he went back in and he put his heart and soul into it.
Must use that.
And then he came out and said, "How was that?" And they said, "It was great." And he said, "Oh, good." And off he huffed. So that was
at the recording session. What has he been in, Cab Calloway?
I don't think he's ever done any acting.
Right.
I could completely.
Do you know who
Wasn't he in a Janet
me
Jackson
of?
film clip?
No. That was Cab Calloway, which was the thing they said. Heavy D and Janet Jackson, I think, at the start. They were on the bench and they went, "Cab Calloway," and that was part of the song. But I don't think he wouldn't have been around. He would have been gone by then because they dedicated the 2000 one to him. And Janet Jackson
Yeah.
was way after the fact, wasn't it?
Wasn't after that wasn't after 2000. Like
Cab-
that film clip where she goes Cab Calloway.
Oh, yeah,
That's in the 80s or 90s.
maybe. Yeah, it would have
Well,
been 80s or 90s.
It'd definitely be a tribute to Cab. There's
Yeah,
only
I
one
think
Cab
I don't think
Calloway.
he's in the video.
I think
he
he is.
reminds me of have a look, Dale. He reminds me of the dad in Seinfeld.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, he
yeah, I
does.
can
Yeah,
see
yeah,
that a
Isn't
bit.
he like
Yeah,
the dad?
yeah.
What was his real name? It was what's his name's dad?
Yeah, the
I thought is this
Stiller. It's
Ben
Ben
Stiller's
Stiller's
dad.
father,
Jerry
Jerry
Stiller.
Stiller.
Jerry
Jerry
Stiller,
Stiller.
and I'm like, is this Jerry Stiller a relative or something like that? And I
Very
kept
similar,
thinking
aren't
of him, going,
Yeah.
he's so much like that guy.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
there you go.
Which was interesting, but yeah, amazing that we've had such a great discussion about the Blues Brothers.
And the very last
Yeah.
celebrity appearances, Henry Gibson was the leader of the Nazis. He's
Oh,
an
yeah.
old
That's
actor,
right.
been around forever.
And he was the villain in The Burbs, which had Carrie Fisher in it as well.
Okay, yeah. And the other one, finally, before I close my notebook and throw it away, Steven Spielberg was the guy in the Cook County Assessor's office at the very end when the
Wow.
Blues Brothers hand over the $5,000. That's Steven
Oh my
Spielberg.
God, see, I slept through that.
Yeah,
What a shame. I might have to go back and watch the end of it.
yeah.
But
yeah, it never hurts seeing the end of a movie.
no, it doesn't. I woke up
helps
and
sort
the
of wrap it up
2000
for
one
you.
was on there.
Okay.
And I was like,
So you fell asleep before the car chase?
yes,
because you would have fallen asleep
I fell
during
asleep during the main gig at the
during
Palace,
the Palace
or
Hotel
whatever
Ballroom.
it
So you
was.
probably you dozed off
I
during
remember
Sweet
seeing
Home
the
Chicago.
audience and they weren't there yet. I think the two boys had got lost or something.
Their car ran out of petrol.
Car ran out. Oh, that's right. And then I just don't remember anything after that.
Oh, you missed the car chase, which is the greatest ever car chase scene ever put to
Yeah,
film.
yeah.
We'll have to watch that.
And they asked for the police department. They took all of their vehicles, their old vehicles, and they bought the police force an entire new fleet of vehicles so they could trash the old
Yeah,
ones.
yeah.
Right.
That was how they got all those police cars and
Okay.
just wrote off the lot of them.
There
Well,
are
that was
only-
another thing.
There are only two other films in film history
Yep.
that have wrecked more films in the making of it.
It was a high budget movie, really,
Yeah.
when you thought about
For
how
the day,
many
it was
cars
huge.
were ruined.
It was huge for a comedy.
Yeah.
What were those other two movies?
One of them was Matrix Reloaded, one of the sequels of Matrix.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what the other one was.
Blues Brothers 2000?
No, it
Because there was
wasn't.
another
Yeah,
massive car
yeah.
chase.
Well,
in
it
that.
wasn't cheap to wreck cars like that. And that was the one thing I did think of. Oh,
Yeah.
Jesus, they've really got a lot of cars. And how did they do the building that Kerry shot and everything with her big gun?
Oh,
Yeah,
would have been a set front or
Right,
something.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Oh, a couple of bits of trivia, right? So you know how they're like screaming along underneath the train overpass?
Yeah.
And they're really going for it. They were going at something like
120 mile an
yeah,
hour.
yeah. But they filmed it because it was so dangerous doing that. They didn't have any extras on set, but without it lacked perspective. Like without the people in the scenery, it looked like they were speeding
up the footage, yeah, so no one would
they did
believe
a second
it.
one with people in it, but you can see in the film. In some cutaways,
Some of the
there'll be
shots,
like
there's
no
no
one
one.
there. Yeah. So
and
John
in-
Landis and Steven Spielberg were really, really close friends. They appeared in each other's films a lot.
Yeah, right.
Until the disaster of Twilight Zone, which was John Landis' film.
helicopter thing.
Yeah, the helicopter thing.
We watched that the other night.
Yeah, and Spielberg cut him off. Even though he was sort of acquitted in court and everything, it was really dodgy, and Spielberg cut him off. But I'm not sure if we've ever spoken about it in this show. Maybe we can do that down the track. But
Yeah.
one more a single thing to wrap up. Cab Calloway's final performance was in Janet Jackson's video clip, All Right. It had Sid Charisse, the Nicholas brothers, and Cab Calloway in one of his last on-screen performances.
Wow, there you go.
In
Excuse
1990,
me.
he died in 1994. So there we go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cab Calloway.
Cab Calloway.
That's the only reason I know of him, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Well,
Through
yeah.
the Janet video.
There we go. Blues Brothers, obviously inspiring generations afterwards, inspired by sort of a massive scene. But, here we are still talking about it now.
Well, it's great to have you in, Simon, and
Thank
talk
you.
about this because you know what you're going on about. But I think it was a really interesting conversation.
Yeah.
I honestly thought I had nothing to offer it, but I did watch it and
I can't believe you fell asleep at the end.
yeah, I'm sorry. I know. I
No, that's
couldn't
all right.
either. I don't usually fall asleep at all. Like, I was about 2 a.m. I'm always up.
It could have been half an hour shorter. No, that's okay. That-
It could have been maybe. Yeah, that's right.
That's fair
I
comment.
always say that when films are too long.
Yeah.
Anyway, good on you guys. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Simon, for coming in.
Simon will be with us next week as
He
well.
is for our time capsule number 3. Very excited. Good on you guys. If you love the show, please like, share, rate and review. Get your friends on board. Thank you for all the social media engagement. We love it when you write into us, especially with your new ideas and stuff.
Yeah.
Become a subscriber for us, on whatever platform you listen to us on. Hit the subscribe button. Very
Absolutely.
important.
First thing you should do.
Pushes us right up the charts, and we
Yeah.
love that. We've been doing really well with our charts lately, guys. Also,
Yes.
sort of Patreon. Become a Patreon, and if you become entry level Patreon,
VIP Patreon.
VIP Patreon for $2 a month, you will get this current Patreon episode
Yes.
where we talk about what happened in Bendigo.
Just a special little offer for
Yeah.
people that want to do a $2 Patreon. We'll give you the latest Patreon, and then if you decide to go up to $15 a month, which is not that much, a couple of coffee a week, really, not even. My coffee today cost $5.90.
My coffee's are $6.
Really?
I'm high maintenance.
Yeah.
I make them myself.
Yeah, but you're in a high maintenance area. Yeah. Mine's sort of just out here. It's, we love it. Join Patreon, patreon.com/the 80s Montage Podcast.
And the best thing of all, come and see us live with Rewind 80s Band all around Australia, guys.
Yes.
We love you. And if it's music,
Or
mateys,
cool shit from the 80s.
we're going to talk about it.
Unreal.